Hello and welcome to Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill, and I gotta admit, I've been watching more Olympics this year than I did last time through, and I don't know why exactly, but I am.
Okay. And it's summer, not winter.
So, yeah, it's summer. I mean, it's on. It's really good. Right now, I'm watching the women's hoops play Germany, and I think they'll win, but it's a big close game. Um, the Americans just they only got a couple of weeks now. They're playing teams that have been together for a while, so they're kind of disjointed. I don't know if they found their flow as to who should play and who shouldn't play, as opposed to the men, where they seem to be have a better coaching, better idea of who's going to play and who's not going to play, and good communication. Telling Tatum he wasn't going to play the first game, telling Embiid he wasn't going to play the second game, and then watching those guys behave on the bench. I mean, they're not pouting; they're they're cheering their teammates on.
Yeah.
And I think when you play on a team with just that much talent, it's just tough to take advantage of it all. I don't think you can.
No, and I think if you're Tatum, you're on the Olympic team, you just won the world championship, you're going to go back to defend your title. I feel like part of you might not even mind just, riding coattails
Yeah.
for a gold medal and then get back and win another ring. Like, you know?
Okay. Ant Man yesterday tore it up.
Yeah.
He had 26 points, and he was impossible to guard. They could not guard him. He's one of those tradition. He's one of those bad matchups in that particular game. I think that's what you look for when these international teams come in. Who do you have that's a bad? It's just a bad matchup for somebody. Can you take advantage of it?
Yeah. It does sometimes feel
So
when
I
you watch
chose that.
some of these games, though, it does feel like this is LeBron pulling strings behind the scenes for this to be his big gold medal push. Um, I know he's one of
I'll
the
tell you
greatest
what.
players of all time,
I've
but
not seen LeBron play better either. I mean, he is. He actually reminds me of like MJ and Kobe in that his focus on winning overtakes everything else. I mean, he's going to win, and he doesn't care how you feel about it or what happens or whatever. He's just all in on this. It's kind of fun to watch him with this kind of mentality.
yeah. And then we still have Giannis is still playing today. Jokic, Canada. So lots of NBA players
Yeah,
still dealing.
and I'm shocked that the French team is not going to make the medal round.
Yeah, they need more perimeter. You know.
Yeah, I was just if one thing blew me away, given the athletes that have been going in the NBA and this whole thing on Wimbayana and these guys, I was shocked. I thought for sure I wouldn't have been surprised if the finals would have been the U.S. and France.
Yeah, I do
I guess I'm
feel.
going to be surprised.
Yeah, I do feel like when you watch Jokic play America though, and they show that telling stat when you people complain about him winning MVP. When Jokic was on the floor, it was a tie game. When he was off the floor, they were minus 26. So Jokic against the best players
Yeah,
in the NBA was a tie. So
yeah. I mean, he had great guys guarding him, so I mean, he was like a point center,
yeah,
and he distributed the ball well. He rebounded well. He did different things. He was really, really, really good, as he always is.
but yeah,
Well, so far my biggest surprise was the U.S. taking a bronze in rugby because I just did not think that would happen. It's an underfunded, underpublicized team, and I just didn't think they had the skill set, and they just
but we're
it's like a miracle on ice how they won that last game to get a bronze medal.
I would say yes and no. I mean, you can fit 90% of the countries of the world in Texas. So we have a giant population to pull from. And if there's one thing Americans have in spades is size compared to a lot of the rest of the world. We're not.
True, but they don't have a lot of women's rugby programs.
No, they don't.
It's not.
But
It's not a big college sport. It's not a big club sport. It's very.
UMass had a big
It's big
program.
on the
Yeah,
west. It's
yeah,
big on the West Coast.
yeah. I was going to say it's big in a few places.
It's really
Yeah,
big on the West Coast. But I
yeah,
think now, I think because it's bronze medal, and then Michelle Tang deciding she was going to invest $4 million in this U.S. rugby team, I think they're going to be the darlings for the next 4 years. There's going to be a lot of attention paid. There's going to be a lot of other sponsors coming on board, and there's going to be a lot of hope for them to be another medalist again.
Yeah. And Flavor Flav, we got to give him some shout out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he sponsored the women's.
He sponsored what?
He's the sponsor of the women's water polo team. He paid them so they didn't have to work two jobs while they were doing their thing. Didn't you read that?
Where's Flavor Flav making his money?
Well, Public Enemy was one of the biggest groups for like 20 years. He had the Flavor of Love TV shows. He's also one of those people that's freakishly talented. He plays like 35 instruments, and he plays them at like concert pianist like level. So he's not. I mean, he's behind the scenes with a lot of stuff too. But yeah, he sponsors. He found out the women's national.
Nice.
Yeah, he found out that team couldn't afford. They couldn't afford not to have jobs while they were practicing for the Olympics. So he just gave them money.
Did Snoop sponsor anything?
He just gave them weed and condoms for the Olympic Village.
All right, my biggest shock so far in the Olympics is Sha'Carri Richardson getting dusted in the 100.
It shouldn't be, because
I mean, no,
she's never done anything but whine and
she was
complain.
a favorite, and anytime you watched her, she was smoking everybody. And then to get, if she'd lost a photo finish, I would probably say I wasn't shocked.
Yeah.
But she got smoked.
She did. But she does a lot of talking and a lot of whining more so than she does running.
Yeah.
And
well,
I'm never sad to see people like that lose.
It's my biggest shock.
Yeah.
Because I didn't expect it.
I still need... They should let former wannabe athletes on Twitter compete in the Olympics as well. Because there's so many of these sports that I've never even seen or heard of that I just need a point of reference. So you could take some guy that thinks he was a great... He's 25. He thinks he was a great high school athlete and got shafted. Put him in some of these competitions because I need that for myself. I know that's a Twitter thing that's been going on for a decade, but it's a really smart point, and I think it would help.
Well, I mean, it's, they have the competition for all these teams.
Yeah, but I mean,
the competition.
I don't remember growing up ever seeing this, ever hearing about it. Like, I don't remember any, like, ads like, hey, do you want to be on the U.S. shuffleboard team? Like, I don't remember, like, I don't know where these things are, I guess.
I guess if you're part of the organization.
Yeah.
If you're part of the organization, you're in the communications.
Right.
And
but if
that's your sport, you probably are in the thing.
Exactly.
But I said at the same time, I would say, if you think you're going to make the USA basketball team, you're dreaming.
Yeah. Well, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about. Yeah. Not basketball. Yeah, not basketball. That's the sports that's clear, like gymnast, boxing, running, things that like you've probably seen and participated in. But some of these minor, like skiing and shooting together, like some of the weirder ones, it's Olympic, not a summer one, but
yeah.
And again, I'm sure a lot of it is like the first time somebody shot a gun, they were excited about it and they went and they learned. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I had 2 days of military training to shoot a gun in a movie. It's really easy. It just is. The only annoying part is having to reload your weapon every time. Putting the bullets into the clip was annoying. But everything else about that sport is really easy. And maybe I'm just naturally at it. I don't know. But that's why I want that. I think it would be helpful.
Are you surprised at the physicality of the basketball game?
No, because...
basketball in the U.S., you're not surprised?
Well, I mean, that's how it's been for, 2 decades. It still feels like we're capable. The Americans aren't used to playing that way. But physically, they look...
Yeah, I guess that's what I mean.
Yeah. But physically, it looks like if you were going to pick a bully team, it would be the Americans, right?
Oh, yeah, no question.
Like, LeBron should be able to... I mean, he has.
The Belgian team, which gave them a good game.
Yeah.
They were pretty stout. And they had some WNBA players that were pretty well built.
Yeah. Well, the WNBA in America is also more physical than the men's NBA. I mean, not going to say physical because that becomes one of those like weird talking points. But I feel like you're allowed to do a little more physicality in the WNBA, more like the European game than you are in the American NBA.
Yeah.
But it's a nice
It's
because
pretty. I'm watching it right now, and it's pretty physical. There's a lot of arms out, hands out, pushing, grabbing, and everything, and they just let it go.
yeah. How are you going to feel when esports is in the Olympics? And we're competing for Call of Duty gold medals.
I mean, you have to acknowledge it as a sport, and you have to acknowledge that it's popular. So, I mean, if you're going to let esports would probably be more popular as a participant sport than softball.
Yeah.
So I mean, it'll find its way, and it'll be part of it. And there'll be critics, just like there's critics for everything.
Is chess in Olympics?
No, I don't think, no, chess is not.
Okay. That feels like that. I mean, with the direction we're going, we might as well just have everything in the Olympics,
I guess you could.
Yeah. I mean, chess is, a mind sport. I mean, it just feels like if we're going to add esports, we should probably go back and add chess and a couple of other, of those sort of competitive games, I guess. Whatever those would be considered. I mean, it's more Olympics, it's more TV. And people love that show on Netflix about chess. I'd be into it.
It's a thought.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears, talk a little NFL.
Okay.
So, who do you think? I'll ask you a question, and I'll answer it as well as you.
Okay.
So, who do you think, of all the teams in the NFL, which team's most likely to live up to its expectations?
Most likely to live up to their expectations. Well, I mean, this feels like the boring answer, but
the expectations of everybody else.
As boring an answer it is, it's the Chiefs, right?
Okay.
I mean, they got better somehow, and they just won the Super Bowl back-to-back years, and this is probably the best team they're bringing into the season than they have since they won their first Super Bowl, I think. So, I mean, as far as living up to I expect the Chiefs to be. I would be disappointed if the Chiefs didn't make the AFC Championship game. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, so.
No, it's not a cop-out. I mean, all I'm asking is which team do you think is going to live up to the expectations?
So who is
It's hard to do. I mean,
yeah.
If I'm betting on the Chiefs as well.
Because
I'll turn it around. What team do you think is really going to be nowhere near their expectations?
I think it's the Bengals.
Okay.
I think you have the T. Higgins thing, the Jamar Chase thing.
Why do you think it's the Bengals?
Honestly, because Joe Burrow's still not throwing every day. He has a wrist injury that apparently no quarterback has ever had. The normal people that get this wrist injury are linemen. And the fact that he's not throwing, he's missed, parts of the last 3 seasons since he went to since he beat Mahomes in the playoffs. He's missed part of the last 3 seasons. And he's still not throwing every day. And that would make me nervous. It makes me very nervous. Because, people are talking about the Bengals being right on the cusp of, they're right back in it. But without Joe Burrow, they're not right back in it. Who is your team?
Okay. Cowboys.
What are the Cowboys' expectations right now?
I think they're expecting to be in the playoffs and a contender.
Okay.
And I don't think they're going to be in the playoffs. I just think there's too much. They've lost too much. They've lost a lot of players. And I think there's a lot of uncertainty about what's going on there. I think there's a lot of pressure on Dak to perform. I just don't see it.
No, I know a lot of us would.
I don't think they'll have a losing record. I just don't think they'll make the playoffs. Like if I thought they'd go 9-8, is probably where I would view them.
Do you think? I mean, we're going to get into this next week, but just because this brings this up in my mind right now, another team that was a little disappointing last year. They started out, I think, 10-1 and ended up 11-6. 11-6, 17 games, right? Yeah. Do you think the Eagles are back, or do you think they're going to continue to be maybe a little?
I think the Eagles are going to win that division. I think that they've made the coaching changes. They brought in some talent. I think they will be okay.
Okay.
I
It's like,
think they'll win. I think Washington could be second in that division.
yeah, I do too.
If I'm going to pick, I know we're going to pick it next week, but just since you asked, I'm going to go Philadelphia, Washington, Dallas, New York.
Yeah, Washington to me is really intriguing. Because depending on how good Jaden Daniels is or how good you think he can be, like they've got a lot of other pieces there.
They do. And they've got, I think they've got, with the new ownership and all the other changes in the front office, I think it's really going to be a positive experience there.
Agreed. And then obviously, I mean, I guess we can, this is still our football talk. With Justin Herbert's plantar fasciitis, that probably lowers your expectations of the Chargers too, right?
Yeah, because that's not going to go away.
No.
I mean, that's a lingering injury.
And you lost both your starting wide receivers. Yeah.
Well, I got to ask you about my next question. Which team do you think could be the Houston Texans surprise team of this season?
Well, I know the media, and for my fantasy purposes, because I have Anthony Richardson, I would like it to be the Colts. And then the homer in me wants it to be the Steelers. I think it might be the Arizona Cardinals. They only won 4 games last year.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They've got 2 good running. I mean, I know a lot of that depends on Kyler Murray, but I've watched some of the Kyler Murray stuff in preseason. He seems like he has a different attitude. And he can still fling the ball. You add Marvin Harrison to the talent they have there. They have a really easy schedule. And I think some teams are going to sleep on them, and I think they're going to be able to sneak up. Their defense is still a little weak, and I don't know where they're going to come up with those players. But as far as a team that could sneak into like a wild card round, I think the Cardinals.
Interesting. I would not have said that.
Like I said, they won 4 games last year, but a lot of that was without Kyler Murray and without Marvin Harrison Jr. and without some of these other pieces they made in coaching changes. So.
Yeah, I mean, if he's healthy and he's got Marvin Harrison, that really makes up for a lot.
And then they drafted Trey Benson to go along with James Conner. That gives them a nice 1-2 punch in the backfield. Trey McBride is arguably the best offensive tight end in football once you get rid of Kelsey. I mean, you could put him in the conversation with Laporta and the guys that come after Kelsey. He's really good. And then I think the coaching changes are going to help them.
Okay.
At the very least, I'd like them from a fantasy offensive standpoint. Their defense, like I said, could be very shaky. They might have to have one of those drafts where they draft like 8 defensive players next year.
Okay.
Who do you like for your surprise team?
I think my surprise team is going to be the Packers because I don't think they're going to do as well as everybody thinks they're going to do.
Oh, so you went the opposite surprise, yeah.
I went the opposite way. Yeah, that's my surprise. I think they're going to be a disappointment.
Yeah, there's almost every team in that division. People think the Lions are going to be great. Think the Bears are going to be surprisingly good, and the Packers.
Yeah.
So yeah, someone in that division is going to be disappointing.
Exactly. So that's kind of where I am with it.
Yeah. And then
So next week we'll start doing our predictions.
yeah, and we have a Steeler moment. Russell Wilson has missed every day of practice for the most part. He's been on the sideline and doing some throwing, but he hurt his calf. And I've seen a lot of quarterbacks talk about TV people, quarterbacks and non-quarterbacks. They basically just said, once you get over 35, his injury is an old injury. They said the sled drill was not a defensive sled. It was just a normal training sled that they have at gyms and everything else. And then if it wasn't during that drill, it would have been during a different drill or when he cut. So, and then Justin Fields has been lighting it up. And people have said from the beginning, if Arthur Smith wants to run his bully ball offense with, a lot of running, like Justin Fields is one of 3 quarterbacks in NFL history to rush for 1,000 yards. He's one of the best running backs probably in football, which I know is probably not the best thing to say about your quarterback, but he's been throwing dimes to George Pickens, and they seem to have a nice little vibe going together. And then, we've known that Russell Wilson has never been the most popular guy on his team, right? And
Yeah.
Justin Fields, you look at when Justin Fields, we talked about this with the Kenny Pickett stuff. Like, people weren't sad that Pickett left. Justin Fields, his teammates were all still backing him, even after it was like they were trading him and they're taking Caleb Williams. He still loved him. So, from a vibes perspective, and then if you're the Steelers, like, if I'm the owner, I'm bringing Tomlin and Arthur Smith into my office. And I am saying, if it is close, I want you to play Justin Fields. This isn't about your ego and your 500 career record. I want to know at the end of the year if do we have somebody we can commit to who's 25? Because I'm not committing big number to a 36-year-old 5'10" Russell Wilson. And I need to know what we have. And I don't think, winning 8 or 9 games of Russell Wilson at quarterback doesn't help me. It doesn't help me, draft capital. It doesn't help me know if I have a future starter. So I think it's a big deal. And I think a real owner would step in and do what I just said to do.
If the real owner was Jerry Jones.
I think a lot of owners would do that.
I don't agree.
No?
Most of the owners are really hands off. Jerry Jones would do that in a heartbeat.
Well, then I like Jerry Jones.
But Jerry Jones would do it if it was the right decision or the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Because he owns the team and he's going to make you do it.
And again, I would just say, if you get through camp and you're telling me Russell Wilson's a B+, Justin Fields is a B-, I want Justin Fields in there. I'm paying the money. I'm writing the checks. I need to see if I have a future starter or just another, because we can have old veterans come on a team every year. And again, like we talked about before we got on today, Russell Wilson's been happily let go by 2 consecutive teams, including one that took a $90 million dead cap hit just to not have him in the building. And he hasn't been like a top quarterback for close to 7 or 8 years at this point. So I kind of feel like he's a known quantity. And I don't want to just be okay again. I'm tired. If I'm an owner, like I said, I like Tomlin. I'm still with him for the most part, but I don't need another 500 season. I'd rather be bad with.
I think you need to find out what Justin Fields can do.
Yeah.
Solely for the reason that you don't want to go into 2025 not having a quarterback.
No.
And if you don't do it, if you don't play him, you're not going to give him $50 million.
No, and with
not going to happen.
And
so you've got to know if he's your guy.
And we've listed the murderers. Yeah, the murderers.
You don't know he's your guy unless you play him in real games.
Exactly. And I don't see Russell Wilson competing with the Patrick Mahomes, Justin Burrow. Even I have doubts about Burrow and his health. I don't see him being that guy. So, CJ Stroud. I need somebody that can bring some spice. I don't know.
Yeah. For sure.
And then Mike Tomlin also went on with Kay Adams and talked about how much he loves Patrick Queen. So
I think the Steelers defense is going to be really good, but we'll talk about that whenever we do the AFC North.
Yeah.
I told Jason was actually here with me this week, and I told him my conspiracy theory. My conspiracy theory is the reason the AFC North ended up with such a lousy schedule, playing all the conference games in November and, pretty much in the end of November and through December and January, is because the NFL and HBO came up with this Hard Knocks AFC North.
Yeah.
And this way it lets them, they only have to focus on a month. It makes it much easier to do the show. And it's also at a time of the season when, there should be some real competition, real interesting storylines. And so the intensity of the Hard Knocks should also be really interesting. So I'm thinking that's a made-for-TV kind of thing.
It feels that way.
Unfortunately, it's not fair to the players.
No, it's not. Because, again, like you said, you could be cutting back and forth between Baltimore and Pittsburgh all week when they're going to play 2 times in a month. And, yeah, it's great for TV, but not fair for football.
Agree.
And then we had our normal Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers this week. He and Garrett Wilson got into a yelling match, and he's a weird one. I don't know.
I'm so tired of Aaron Rodgers. I'm so tired of him. Talk a little baseball. Most interesting thing I saw: Aaron Judge hits 41 home runs, hits his 41st the first inning of the game, comes up in the second inning and gets intentionally walked with nobody on.
Yeah.
Okay? They asked the manager why, and he goes, "I just don't want to see him hit. I don't want to see him swing."
Yeah. I
So interesting approach.
Yeah, he's ended up being a lot. I thought he was going to be too big to be good because I thought he had such a big strike zone, and I thought it would be tough for him. But he's incredible. So
Well, think about it. He and Otani are two of the biggest players in MLB. They're crushing the freaking ball.
yeah, they are. I guess we should pour one out for Mike Trout again.
Yeah, I really feel bad about Mike Trout. I mean, he was in the top three in MVP voting his first 8 years in the league. Think about that. Every year for 3 years, you either won it or you finished second, and 1 year you finished third.
Yeah.
And now you can't even go on the field because of the injuries. And I just think he played the game really hard. He had a football player body. And I just think he just beat up his body to the extent he just can't play. I mean, I don't know that. I mean, they're going to be paying him for a while, but I don't think I just don't see him coming back next year, because essentially he would have missed almost a year and a half because I don't think he didn't play 30 games this year,
Yeah.
and he probably didn't play 50 games or 60 games last year.
No, it's
And it's the leg injuries are what did Mickey Mantle in, and I think the leg injuries are going to do Mike Trout in. You don't have your legs, you can't play.
it's true. I mean, hopefully he can
Sad.
come back and find I mean, he's in the American League, so maybe there's a DH role or something where they can get. I know it's a lot to pay a DH, but just get some less stress on that body.
Here's my other criticism of the day.
Okay.
ESPN is showing the Cubs and the Cardinals tonight. That's their game.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas they could have asked the Pirates to change the time of the game and showed Paul Skeens versus, one of the best pitchers in baseball against the best offense in baseball in the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah. In a game with
Why wouldn't you want that game on?
and a game with stakes.
Your viewers have seen all this hype about Paul Skeens. Now you can deliver them on national telecast.
Oh yeah.
But now you're going to show the Cubs and the Cardinals. The Cardinals are in, I believe, second place behind the Brewers, and the Cubs are in last place.
Yeah.
So why do you want to show it?
And I'm sure with a little bit of phone call or money, Livy Doon could have showed up. You could have talked to her about the Olympics and Simone Biles. You could have done some kind of,
Yeah.
and then, just a little cross, she talks a little Olympics and what she's doing. You get Paul Skeens. That's a win for ESPN if I'm concerned.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure if I asked, if ESPN answered me honestly, if I said, why are you showing the Braves, the Cardinals and the Cubs? You know what the answer would be? Because the Yankees and the Red Sox aren't playing each other.
Probably, yeah.
That's the game that's always on. So, I mean, ESPN is so locked into the same two teams or the same six teams. They're afraid to roll the dice and take a chance and show some of these great players that don't play in the markets that they always tell us.
And Major League Baseball needs that.
Yeah.
You need to see all these other players.
Absolutely, you do.
And especially, he's obviously not on the level of, Caitlin Clark, as we talked about. But, Paul Skeens is somebody that he's got a lot of hype behind him. He's got a little bit of a social media following. He's obviously got the girlfriend that's got a giant... I mean, you've got some... we've always criticized them for not jumping on things. And it's like, this dude might... and he's shown that he's probably the real deal. So,
Yeah, I mean, he's 6-1 with a 191 ERA.
Yeah, so he was the all-star starter. This seems like the time, you start showing him on TV as much as possible.
Yeah, really. This could be your guy. You need guys. And you know what? You don't need guys just in big markets. You need guys throughout. You need to have a guy as many markers as you can to make sure the game is picked up and carried and expanded.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
yeah. But as far as the pennant racing go, the Phillies are having trouble right now, and the Braves are playing well, despite all the injuries the Braves had, which are ridiculous. So I've been watching that one. Padres are playing really well. And they swept. We won the season series from the Dodgers, which hasn't happened in probably 15 years. So that's exciting. The Padres could be a team. I like Seattle being in position in the West. I've always liked the team. I think they're interesting. Um, it just there's a lot of competitive teams. I mean, there's probably only right now in MLB, I would say 6 or 7 teams that don't have a chance right now to be in the playoffs, not to win the World Series, but
But
to be in
just
the
to get it,
playoffs.
yeah, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, real crazy.
And a positive for baseball where it was, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, I think Rob Manfred's done a good job.
Yeah. Well, this is sports entertainment, but on the day after SummerSlam, which was a big success, we saw Roman Reigns and all the celebrities and everything else that were there. What do you think about WWE moving to Netflix? Because we've never talked about that since that was announced.
You know, I think enough people have that platform that there's already an audience, and I also think it's enough of an incentive for people that really like it
Yeah.
to sign up for it. So I think it's a good move.
Because I feel like Netflix is probably a better, if you're going to have a service you're streaming all the time, I think your audience is more likely to be a Netflix audience than a Peacock audience. And that's where WWE is right now, is on Peacock.
Yeah, I think so too. I think
And
so too. It's bigger exposure.
and
Even though you don't have the NBC affiliation that you do with Peacock, Netflix is very accessible, and it's a very, very good opportunity. I love it.
yeah. And the WWE has done an incredible job in between, just Logan Paul, Sexy Red, Bad Bunny. Like they bring, they had Jelly Roll. They bring in all these celebrity, they have all these celebrity fans now. And then obviously The Rock superstardom has really helped them. So they're at a, sort of at a peak place right now, which is great for them.
Yeah. No, I like it a lot.
Yeah. And I wonder, since it's somewhat performative gymnastics, could you ever see a sports wrestling entertainment in the Olympics?
No,
No?
no, no.
Okay. I'm going to predict it's going to happen in
That's
20
what's
years.
gonna happen.
20 years from now, we will see it.
All right, they already had wrestling,
Yeah.
but you could argue they already had volleyball and they added beach volleyball. They
Yeah.
already had basketball and they added 3-on-3 basketball.
Well, if you look at some of
Here's a
the.
question.
Yeah.
Here's a good question for you. Why does the USA suck so much at 3-on-3?
I have no. Because I mean, look who's playing in 3-on-3, right?
Jimmy, Jimmy Fredette is your most recognizable player.
Yeah, that's not helping you.
Why didn't you take the best team from Ice Cube's league?
Yeah. And honestly,
It's Ice Cube, right?
yeah, it's
That's
Ice
his
Cube.
league, the big three.
Yeah. If I have all
That's what
these.
I would have taken the best team from there, or an all-star team from there, because they played the game.
Yeah. I would argue that you could take, you look at guys that just missed this Olympic team. You don't think they could go and win a 3-on-3 tournament? If I had Jaylen Brown and, I don't know, or who I would take? This is easy. Mom yelling at the dog. I would take Jalen Brunson and Bridges and DiVincenzo. And I would have a New York Knicks. If we didn't make this Olympic team, we're going to go run our old Villanova squad. We're going to win a 3-on-3 tournament in the Olympics.
Yeah.
They already have the chemistry, and they're all better than Jimmy Verdette.
They're all good. Yeah, that's a possibility. I think I just like the idea of having guys that have been playing 3-on-3 for
Yeah.
several months to go in there and play 3-on-3.
Yeah. But even like,
I think between our men's and women's team, I think we're like 1-9.
Yeah. But again, like, I think some of those other teams have got some of the, they're whatever their guys that weren't on the regular team, they're right there. Whereas we're having, Jim Fredette, who had a
There's so much talent. I agree.
he had a cup of coffee 10 years ago for an NBA team and never really played. I mean, we have NBA guys that I think would drool to get the chance to win an Olympic gold every 4 years. I think it's there. Like I said, I think you could, you find like three like I said, you took, three guys from one NBA team that didn't have any Olympians. Like, and the Knicks are the ones that come to mind, not just because they're my favorite team, but because you got three Villanova guys. I think if you just took the Villanova NBA players and put them together, I think they'd win the tournament. And I think it'd be fun to watch. And why couldn't Caitlin Clark be playing in the women's 3-on-3?
Good point.
She's not playing in the Olympics, but her and why do I always forget
Reese.
Angel Reese? Like that might be the star of the Olympics right now. And the other girl that scored 32 points for the All-Star team. That's a threesome right there. That's probably going to whoop up the world.
Yeah.
Because you have competitive people that can shoot and score.
Lots of questions and no answers.
Yeah. And it's a nice way of extending. You're still part of USA Olympic basketball. You're just not on the main team. You're on the 3-on-3 team.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then maybe next Olympics.
Let's talk about our entertainment moment.
Okay.
Before we still have some time.
Let's do it.
What'd you think?
That's the first movie I can remember going to in the theater since the pandemic. And I think the first thing I thought of is like once I sat in that seat, and they were very nice seats. They were the big loungers that the feet go up on.
Yeah.
But once the lights went out and the previews went on, I remembered why I like going to the movies again. Like the experience itself is really nice, because there was nobody messing with a cell phone. You couldn't really see anybody that wasn't in your aisle the way these seats were stacked. So, you were just able to focus on the, and again, I never look at my phone when I was in the movie. Like that was something I just never, I work in the industry, so that's probably part of it, but like, it was nice being in the dark, watching a movie with no distractions. And it made me like, with Alien Romulus coming out and Beetlejuice and some other movies, I'm like, I think I need to get to the theater a little more often. So that was my biggest takeaway.
Okay. It was fun. It was a nice, fun experience.
Yeah.
The seats were comfortable. We had a lot of leg room.
They were heated seats, which I didn't discover
Seats.
until accident late in the movie. But yeah.
No, it's a really good experience.
And I would say the movie we saw, Trap. Was it Trap or Trapped? Whatever the new M. Night Shyamalan movie is. And I feel like it was very much an M. Night Shyamalan movie. I thought the three leads, if you will, Miss Raven, who was Shyamalan's daughter, Josh Hartnett, and the little girl were all fantastic. I thought their acting was really good. And I think like most of his movies, there's enough intrigue and mystery to keep you watching. And then like a lot of his movies, I feel like the third act had some issues. And I didn't love the ending. But overall, really, I would recommend people watch it, though.
Yeah, I would have been happy with the ending before the other ending, wouldn't you?
Yes. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like
it's a nice twist, but maybe unnecessary.
Yeah, and I don't feel like you're not going. I mean, if you watch the movie, just outside of maybe even Old had my attention. When I think about Shyamalan movies, like I didn't love that movie, but I was watching it wanting to know what the story was. What are you going to reveal to me that's going to be exciting? The Cabin in the Woods, or whatever that last one was that I saw on Peacock. Again, same thing. Like it's probably not a movie I would watch more than once. But he does a good job of keeping me like, for 90 minutes. I'm like, I want to know what you're trying to tell me.
Yeah.
And then I'll either be excited or disappointed, but yeah. And I tell people all the time, you took me to see Sixth Sense. Remember?
Yeah.
And he leaned over to me right after Bruce Willis was shot and said he's dead the whole time. And we saw it like opening weekend. We weren't spoiled yet, and you knew.
and it was so good.
Yeah, but it was still very good. Yeah,
I,
but I never met
I
because like
love that movie.
yeah, because you like I said you were just like, oh, he's dead the whole time, and I was like, oh shit, and it turns out he was. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really, that's my favorite Shyamalan movie. That and Unbreakable.
It's hard to
Those,
debut that hard because I mean, again, everybody has an apex, something they do that's the best that they're ever going to do, and it just so happened that his first movie is probably his apex, which I think is
yeah,
some of the disappointment for him is that you're probably never going to be both in terms of coming out when that movie came out when people were still where they were with movies and speaking of movies and the zeitgeist, and then the quality and the twist and that movie being the mystery when it was like I don't think you're ever. I mean, he's never going to be able to be there again, and I think
yeah.
that's why some people
It's
are.
you know what? It's tough when your first thing is your greatest thing.
Yeah,
Just like there's people that their high school experience is the top highlight of their life,
yeah,
but it comes too early. It's probably really good and really imaginative, but it's really early, and it's tough to move on and do something else.
yeah, and it's tough to live up to those expectations from an audience standpoint, where people are always because I feel like he takes a lot more crap than he deserves because people are always like, and it's like yeah, because it's probably not as good as what you remember, but it's still good, and I guess Trap falls into that trap.
I guess the thing that surprised me the most is that you know his daughter, I mean, plays an amazing part of the movie,
Yeah,
and she wrote the songs and sings the songs. So she writes the songs, she performs the songs. So she's an actress, she's a singer, and she's essential to the movie. I, I was blown away by that.
yeah,
That surprised me.
no, she was really good. Oh, we can
Yeah,
transition into my other entertainment moment. Um, Rory Gallagher.
yeah, totally.
He's an Irish guitarist from the 60s and 70s, and I don't think he died until the 90s, so I think he was still performing, but he was biggest probably then. And he's, I saw this thing, it was like the greatest guitarist you've never heard of. And it was, I think Keith Richards is there, Brian May of Queen, all these famous guitarists talking about how amazing this Rory Gallagher was. And then I listened to some of his music, and it's really good. Bad Penny in particular is a really cool song. So that's somebody I had never heard of, and great musicians think of him as a great musician. So he's worth checking out if you
Very
like,
good.
if you like the.
Absolutely.
And I would recommend just do a live song on YouTube because his live stuff is incredible, and his bass player is very entertaining in sort of a funny way. Very talented, but just his facial expressions are pretty amazing. Yeah, so that was my other entertainment.
Okay. Our food moment, Jason and I were together. Our food moment was Sharon's cooking,
Yeah,
which, any of you that have had a meal with me at my home understand how good of a cook she is. And she's tremendous.
yeah.
So she made a pot of, just our Italian gravy. And we had homemade ravioli that we bought at Moschella's and some Italian bread, and that was a great dinner.
It was.
That's our highlight meal. And then afterwards, sadly, we retired the sauce pot that my mother bought for us, I would say 49 or 50 years ago.
Oh, I saw it in the
So,
sink when we left.
yeah, we retired it. I actually had a burn spot in it from just, hot spot that became a burn spot.
Oh,
And so it was kind of had all those memories of all those meals we've had with that pot, and made me think my mother was just a really, really, really nice moment.
yeah. That's an incredible time for a pot to last too. I think. I'm not sure about.
Yeah, I think so too. And that pot moved to 7 different moves in different states and different cities. But it's always been part of us.
Very nice.
Yeah. Well, next week, Jason and I are going to start with our NFL. This week, and we're so excited. I don't know what we'll get to see, but the NFL exhibition games start this week. I was hoping by having YouTube TV, we could watch whatever we want to watch, even during the exhibition season. but I know that's not going to happen. But maybe we'll get to see some replays on the NFL Network.
Yeah, I think so.
So we'll get to see the games we want to see. But we are unbelievably excited about NFL season. And so we'll start with our predictions next week. What do you want to start with first, Joseph? Which conference?
I guess let's get the end of.
Conferences?
Yeah.
We do two a week, right?
I think we might have to do more than 2 a week, given that we're already into August. Maybe we'll do 4 and 4. There's 8 conferences, right? Or 8 divisions?
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we'll go AFC, NFC South, and AFC, NFC West. And then we'll save.
South and West.
Yeah, and we'll save the East and the North for the following week. And you already got a little. What's that?
So it works for me.
Okay, perfect. And we'll see everybody next week.
Enjoy. Take care.